tell me 1 minute, I think we're back. That should, 6:30. Oh yeah, these mics are hot, Steve, so if you want to tell jokes or whatever, just hit, kill the green light.
Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and start. I think everybody knows me. I'm Chris Slimp. I'm the Public Safety Director. I'll be handling just the first few minutes of the meeting while we do a reorganization and we elect a chairman and a vice chairman. And then once we do that, we'll have those folks take over as far as running the remainder of the meeting. But before we do that, number one, thank you all for being here. We appreciate y'all serving on this. It's a really important committee. We deal with a lot of things that affect the citizens, and our service is really important to the life and safety of all of our citizens in Pittsylvania County. So we really appreciate you being here. Several of you have been here already doing this job, and welcome back, and we're glad you're here. So, but before we get started, I'll just real quick, I want to go around the table just so everybody can introduce themselves real fast. By the next meeting, I will have your nameplates. We'll have those out as well. So, but I'll start with Chief Fowler over here, and we'll go around the table real fast.
Dean Fowler, I'm the President of Fire and Rescue Association. Ben Meeks, Chief of Ground Fire and Rescue, and been in Fire and Rescue for about 13 years now, and served on this commission for 2 years prior, and excited to be back.
Vic Ingram, I represent the Board of Supervisors, and I used to be a fireman years ago.
Steve Stallings, I was nominated here by Vic, and just hope to add something to your commission here, and look forward to helping you any way I can.
Brian Shields, Representative Chair, Chatham Blair's District, and thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Kermit King, Northwest Quadrant Representative, also a member of Calvin's Fire and Rescue, retired firefighter from the city of Danville. Prior commission member, happy to be back.
I'm Ward Rowland. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm a member of Mount Hermon Volunteer Fire Department.
Tim Cassell, Chief Bachelor's Hall, retired city firefighter, 31 years with the city, and I've got about 14 years with Bachelor's Hall.
Jimmy Holly. I've been a member of Ringo for 44 years. Was appointed by Jim Cheshire.
I'm Bert Sellers. I'm a board member at Ringo Volunteer Fire Department. I've served on this committee for the last couple of years, and I'm glad to be back.
Alan Casper, Deputy Chief, Gretna Fire and Rescue, also Renan Fire member. Bannister District, 40 years fire and rescue experience.
J.D. Brown, Northeast Representative.
Glenn Caldwell, Pittsylvania County Public Safety Administrative Services Coordinator, the 911 Center.
All right, thank you, folks, and again, welcome. With that, we will start just very briefly. We'll have a moment of silence, and we'll do our Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll do the election of officers. Thank you. If you stand for the pledge, please. I pledge Do we have any, before we do we have any items that need to be added to the agenda? I need to back up and do that before we do any elections. Do we have anything that needs to be added to the agenda?
Chris, I'd like to make a recommendation to add a discussion on the budget process for this year for the commission members.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Do I have a motion to add that item?
So
I'll make
moved.
a motion to add the budget item to the agenda.
Second.
All right, have a motion to add discussion of budget process. That would be item E under the new business agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say aye. All right, that motion passes. With that, can we get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I make a motion we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Who seconded that? I did. Okay, okay. All right, we have a motion to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Like sign. All right, thank you. That passes. Okay, election of a chairman. We'll open the floor for nominations for the chairman of the commission. Do I hear a motion or a nomination for anybody?
I would like to nominate Ben Meeks for chairman, please.
Do I hear any other nominations? Any other, okay? We'll close those nominations. Ben Meeks has been nominated. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right. It's unanimous. All right, Ben, actually, I think from here you take over to do the Vice Chairman, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate that. Hope I can lead us well. So we will move to an election of a vice chair. So I have a motion for a vice chair or nomination for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Mr. King for that if I could.
Got Kermit King. Any other nominations? All right, hearing none, we'll close that and entertain a motion to accept Kermit King as the vice chair.
Make a motion to accept Kermit King as vice chair.
Okay, got a motion and a second?
I'll second.
All right, got a motion and a second. All that approve, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. All right, motion carried. Congratulations, Mr. King.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move to adoption of bylaws now on our agenda. I think everybody should have a copy of the bylaws. We'll entertain discussion. We'll take a few minutes to review them. Any discussion on the bylaws?
Mr. Chairman, in lieu of, we have a lot of new members on the commission at this time. Would it be appropriate to table this adoption until the next meeting, until they can all get familiar with it and have a chance to really go over it and read it?
I believe that would be appropriate. Chris, can we do that as far as?
I think you could do that. I don't think that would be a major
Okay.
issue. We can, we still need to draw the lots, and that's in the bylaws, but that's also in the county ordinance, so we're covered either way we go with that. So I believe we'd be okay if we need to put it off. And
Okay.
I agree with what he's
Yeah, I just want to give him a fair chance to, to read this.
Well, just a little food for thought I wanted to throw out there, and you guys, it sounds like that's the direction we're gonna do, which I agree with, because that's a pretty good document, that's gonna kind of govern us, so we need to make sure we get it right. You know, I just think we need to make sure we have inclusion of the public safety system and the public safety staff and the volunteers, and what I mean by that under purpose, it says the commission shall serve as a partner with the Department of Public Safety. I think we should just include in there, you know, the volunteers in that as well. I know that sounds trivial, but they run a large portion of the calls in this county, so that, you know, we as all together will serve as an arm to make recommendations to the board. Also, I would like to see us take a hard look at voting during matters of the commissioners. I feel like that handcuffs us sometimes. It did on the previous commission. If you got something that comes up during discussion that needs to be some action taken on it, I understand that doesn't happen a lot, because, right, you want to do your research and study what we're doing before we just jump to conclusions and make a motion, but sometimes there's stuff that can't wait. Well, if we get down to matters with the commissioners and there's something that comes up in our discussions here, we can't, with these bylaws and handcuffs you can't make any motions during that. Me personally, I don't agree with that. That's just me. And then I would like to see something in here about including the association with so that they make a recommendation each year for the budget process, because that's a big part of what this body is responsible for, is assisting with the budget for the volunteers and public safety staff and all that stuff. So I think it, you know, just something in there so that they can make a recommendation to us on a budget for the new year, and then we can take it and dissect it over how we need to help out the county staff. That's just 3 things I pointed out when I read these bylaws, looking over them.
You recommend we making a change to the bylaws, Ben? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think since we're tabling them, can we do that at the next meeting, Chris? So I think since we're going to table them, I don't think we need to make a recommendation to change it tonight, because I don't know if that needs to be thought about, what I just said. You guys give it some thought and, you know, tell me what y'all think. But, you know, I feel like if we table this the next month and then come back with any changes we want to make to the document, do we need to submit those, Chris, to you before?
Yeah, because I need to let the county attorney review them. So
Okay.
that'd be fine, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, these bylaws were written by who?
So these originally was the set from the last commission, if I'm not mistaken. These were written in conjunction with, I guess, you, Chris, the county attorney, and was the county administrator involved with that?
No.
Okay.
Now, we did have, these were rewritten twice.
Okay.
They've gone through, in the second 2 times we involved members of the commission. Because it was kind of, you know, as we were going along, we were learning things we needed to change. So they were last adopted, I believe, last October, we had adopted a set again. And so when I took that set and amended it to include everybody, you know, we have more people, that was the biggest thing I needed to change. And then anything you may want to change from that. But we had a committee that actually looked at that last time.
So I think for purpose of tonight, unless there's more discussion on it, we just need to, I guess, entertain a motion to table this until next month. And if you guys have changes, submit them to Chris, please, and, you know, email or writing so that they can review them with the county attorney and get them in the document. Anybody like to make that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we table this set of bylaws until the next meeting.
Okay, got a motion by Kermit King to table the bylaws till next meeting.
Second.
Is that Mr. Sellis? Second by Mr. Sellis. All right. Any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Table the bylaws. All right, we're going to move down to drawing of terms. I think Chris is going to be coming around, so Good luck.
Did I get one? There it is. 1 year. That's pretty cool.
Hey, Chris, I got the wrong one.
I got the head.
One and done.
That's the second time.
Saw that sleight of hand.
All right, Chris, do you just want us to go around the room and read you what we got so you can record it?
Please.
Okay. I'll start with myself. 4 years. 4 years is what I draw.
2 years.
4,
2.
1.
1.
2,
I don't have my glasses. I think it says 4 months.
4 years. That's what mine says.
2.
1.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
And I drew for, we have a member who's not been appointed yet,
Okay.
so I drew for them. It was a 1 year.
1 year. Okay. So that'll be for the Stanton River District, correct? Okay. All right.
I missed, just, Mr. Rowland, how many, what was yours?
1.
1? And, Mr. Shields?
4.
4, okay. All right, very good.
All right. That brings us down to financial accountability on the agenda.
All right, so we just want to have a little bit of a discussion, and Chief Fowler and I have talked about this in detail, and I think some of y'all have as well. And how do we move forward with financial accountability of the agencies? You know, reporting and how do we want that to look, and what is fair and so forth. There is a lot of money from the county that goes into the agencies, and it's more or less just you know, what do we think is going to be fair? What do we want to look at? I think talking with Chief Fowler, the association's had some discussions. They have a group that wants to work with Public Safety Department and, you know, maybe come back to you all with some recommendations. But we put that on the agenda just for some discussion. If we have any comments from any of you folks on what you all think it should be, and then we can take that back to that committee. But if nobody have an objection to that, we'd like to work with the committee, like I say, of some of the departments and chiefs, and come back with some suggestions on how that should look for the future. And I'll let Chief Fowler comment a little bit on that as well.
We discussed it at the last Fire and Rescue Association meeting, and in speaking with a couple of the supervisors to try and make this a little more transparent. And that being said, we agreed to form a committee to sit down with, a committee of 3 to sit down with Chris Limp and Chris Key and try to put together a proposed document, take it back to the association at the next meeting, explain to the association what we had in mind. If they approve it, we would bring it back to this body with an explanation and a illustration, and try to get that explained, and maybe you all agree to that, with the intent to try to get it through the Board of Supervisors in June and include it in our service agreement that we sign every year in July that determines whether or not we receive our funding, and it holds everybody a little more accountable to actually show what they're doing financially. And I don't know what that looks like yet. You know, I'm one of a 5-member committee, and then it'll come back to the association and it could totally change. But that being said, I don't think anybody has any issue of folks knowing what we're doing. And at the end of the day, that's what we're looking to do, is bring it back. Half of the funding, or maybe 40% of the funding, right now, Pittsylvania County is actually receiving the billing for the fuels for the vehicles, the heating fuels, the electricity bills. They're controlling the insurance bills, and they're taking care of those. So that being said, at the end of the day, a lot of our funding is already going through the county, and I don't know where it would go, but I kind of envision being able to show where the rest of these funds are going with some receipts, council checks, maybe an explanation out beside them as to what we're doing. And that's just my pipe dream. I don't know where it'll go when everybody sits down, but I don't think anybody has any issue with disclosing where it goes. And if anybody's got any questions or recommendations, hey, I'm happy to take them back to the committee off of the start, so we have you all on board even before we have a meeting. I'm good with that.
Chief Fowler, I think it'd be a good idea to actually, do the ad hoc committee and let them take a look at it and, come back with recommendations. I think that'd be an excellent idea.
Mr. Fowler, is this in any way tied into the audit that they were talking about doing?
No, sir. What we envisioned is having, and I know that's a bad word, no, I wouldn't dare even entertain that. At the end of the day, what we're looking at is having a document that shows that whichever agency it is, they received this amount of funding. This portion of it went through the process with the county doing the billing, and they're doing that to get us bulk rates. And I think it's great. I mean, when we switched over to public safety, at first they were going to have us individually pay, and I found out there's a lot of tax paperwork you got to do to get the rates and that stuff. And the finance department for the county were gracious enough to say that they would continue to do it the way they've been doing it, I guess, for about 30 years. But that being said, they're handling that. The other side of the coin is just a document that would have and we do it a lot. Our aid to locality funding is a pass-through fund that comes through the county from Virginia Department of Fire Programs. To receive that funding, we purchase fire equipment, and we have to in turn submit council checks and the invoices, paid invoices, to receive the aid to locality funding for life the same way. And I don't think any agency has any issue doing that, and that'll give you documentation to show you where that funding went.
Plus, I think it would also keep all the documentation kind of the same, so when it came to Chris or the finance department to actually take a look at it and say, well, Callens is this, and that way it would compare to Ringo's and Gretna's and Blair's paperwork. Everybody's paperwork would kind of look alike, so it would be easier to do funding and financial accountability on.
Mr. Chairman, I'm actually the one that asked Chris to put accountability on the agenda. And you and I both know the origin of all of this. And I spoke out against the audits back when I had a little say, and spoke out once again when I had a little bit more say. But the audits had nothing to do with the accountability. It had everything to do with trying to see what the respective departments had in the bank. And I said it then, I'm going to say it again, it's nobody's business. If we don't trust the departments, the command staff, their board of directors, which is often made up of civic leaders, we might as well just put the checkbook down. And so this whole charade about a 990, if you 501c3 and you make or bring in less than $50,000, you only have to do that. But that's an issue between the IRS and that respective agency, which we have no say in. And so with all of this hoopla over the 990s and the audits and all of that, it's like, well, show me a department that's doing wrong and we'll address that. But I can say with a tremendous amount of pride is that every department that I know of not only does a great job with accountability, there's no questions. And everything that the county sends to them is allocated, it's approved, it goes through Chris and our finance department, and then the board of supervisors, we end up voting on it. So once again, what is all the hoopla about this whole accountability? If there was a problem with a specific individual department, surely we would handle that. But to take a broad brush and make it look like all of our fire and rescue agencies are up to no good and we got to watch every penny that we give them, I think it's nonsense. And like I said, it's a big trust factor here. And if the citizens are going to trust you guys with their lives, looks like they trust you with what little money that we're able to give you guys. And so I do appreciate everything that can go into making sure that full accountability is there. We don't have to go down this road again. And I think everybody would be happy. But again, this 990 business and this audit business, as far as I'm concerned, that's a bad memory. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So a couple comments, commissioners, and Dean, you would probably know this, Chris maybe. We used to submit, before we done block funding, we had to submit money, we had to submit a expense report to the county to show where we had spent our money for the funding, and then we got a check. So, and I'm not saying we go back to that, I think the block funding is the way to stay with, but what I'm trying to get at is, guys, we used to do that and it was perfectly fine. Why can't, and I think this committee, just food for y'all when y'all get together and meet, I think absolutely we need to give the association an opportunity to meet with the directors and come back and make a recommendation. But to me, a simple fix to this is when they give us the money, we have a deadline as part of our service agreement that we have to turn back in our expense report of where that money was spent. And that's clear cut dry. I mean, you know exactly where the money went then, and if there's any questions, then it would fall back to the responsibility of the county to question what happened to this money, where it went, follow those proper channels. So that would be just my recommendation for this committee when they get together, because we used to do that. Is that correct, Chris?
I believe that is correct. Prior to my time, yes, I believe so.
The issue being some of the smaller organizations, if they're going to receive $30,000 from the county, let's say, as operating expenses, a lot of them don't have that $30,000 to put up front to receive that funding, and that's why it went away years ago. But that being said, I guess we could talk to Ms. Vanderhyde and figure out, I kind of had in mind that all of that would be reported in June toward the end of the fiscal year and do a one-time report. But if it needs to be quarterly or however it needs to be, or maybe if right now, and you correct me if I'm wrong, because I might get these numbers wrong, we get 50% in the first part of the fiscal year.
Correct.
In December, January, we get 35%. And then the last 15% of the funding is contingent on you meeting all of the qualifications that are in the service agreement, i.e. you run 70% of your calls and have a 990 and so on and so forth. That being said, that's kind of when I would have in mind that we needed to present that last document stating what we've done with that funding for the year. And I think it would be a lot easier for the agencies to do that as they spend that money during the year, because some of them are going, I can quite frankly tell you, some of them are going to make truck payments monthly. And they're not going to spend all that money right off the start to give that up front to get their funding. So at the end of the day, I just think if we can put that report on the end so that that's part of the qualifications to receive your last block of funding for the fiscal year, I think more departments would be in support of it than having to try to put up what they're going to spend for the year. If they could do that, they probably wouldn't need a county support. I can speak for Blair's for that. I can't speak for nobody else.
And we got a bunch of new people tonight, and you guys, just so you all know, and you may already, but, he spoke on it, Chief Fowler did, the service agreement is something that every department in this county has to sign, and a copy of it's retained by the Public Safety Director, has to be signed, notarized by the agency leadership, and then sent back to them before you can receive any funding. So there's already some accountability in there. We're just trying to assure the public of more accountability of where these funds are going directly. But what that service agreement does is you have to run a certain percentage of calls, you have to submit a roster, you have to submit certain things to the Public Safety Department, and if you do not, then you don't get your last draw of funding. And so I just wanted to put that out there to the newer commissioners. That's what the service agreement is, and I'm sure Chris can get you a copy of it. If you want it, just ask him and he can give us a copy of that. So if you when they bring their recommendation back, if we tie that into the service agreement, then everything should be kosher, because the department understands when they sign that, saying, to get our money, this is something we'll have to do. We'll have to submit this at the end of the year. And no department that I know of is gonna have an issue with that. I mean, you know, come to Groton right now, we'll show you, we keep all of our funding, and this is a recommendation I would make to all the volunteer departments. We have a separate checking account just for our county funds. So every time any dollar comes from Pittsylvania County, with a check from Pittsylvania County, it goes in that account. And then we run a report on that every month. And that way we can show anybody that wants to come in and look, where's our taxpayer money at? Well, here it is right here. It's completely separated from any of our other funds. So, you know. So what's you guys' wishes on the financial accountability on it? Do we want to table this and let this committee from the ad hoc committee from the association make a report and come back?
Yeah, I think it would only be fair that it goes back to them and let them review it. That's just,
Does that need to be a motion?
Yeah, I think, because it's an agenda item, so we do need to put that in a motion, correct, Chris?
You can.
To table it? Okay.
I make a motion that we table the accountability items until an ad hoc committee can be selected and bring a report back to us.
I'll second it.
We've got a motion by Mr. Sellers to table the financial accountability until the two public safety directors and the association can meet, and second by Alan Casper. Okay, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, say aye for if you approve.
Aye.
Like sign for if you do not. All right, motion carried unanimously. All right, that brings us down to budget discussion. So this is the item I added, so I'll take this, Chris. So my thought process is a big reason for this body right here, you guys, are, and you'll hear a lot about this over the next coming months and years, is strategic planning and things like that, but also budgeting, you know, helping make sure that our public safety system, and when I say that, I mean the volunteers and all of it that's incorporated, has the funds they need to be able to do the job to service our citizens. That being said, I know we're already behind the 8 ball with the budget this year. That they've got a budget advertised currently, which I think, Chris, is it April the 11th when they'll adopt that?
I believe it is April, but I can't remember the exact date. It is April, yes.
Okay, so we're short on time. My thought process is, and if y'all don't want to deal with it this go around, that's okay, but just to educate us, some of the commissioners, and also get some feedback from the association, I would like to see us put together a committee consisting of at least 2, we can put many as y'all want to, but at least 2 members of this body, 2 members of the association, the public safety director, and the chairman of the board of supervisors, to review the current budget that's proposed for fire and rescue as a whole, and make any recommendations to Mr. Mundy for changes before that is adopted. Now, Chris, you're going to have to educate me. I don't know. Can changes be made before they vote on it April the 11th? I think it's the 11th. April.
They can, and there is some contingent money in contingency, if I'm not mistaken, that is for, well, I shouldn't say that could still benefit the volunteers. Let me put it to you like that. So I think that either before or even after, if it stays in contingency, and I'm not trying to put Mr. Ingram on the spot, but I believe he can also speak to this. Even if it goes after that is approved, the money that stays over here in the contingency fund can still be appropriated to the volunteers or for whatever, actually, anything in the county for that matter. If they see fit, that's what it's for. But I believe there is some over there to try and benefit the volunteers.
Yeah, April the 4th, we have a public hearing. That's a good time for people to speak out. And we do have some money in contingency, but not that much.
Right.
And I guess, you know, last year, the last budget process, Ms. Vanderhyde came and gave a presentation to this body. and that was great. She does an awesome job. But unfortunately, just because of timing, we're not gonna get that luxury, and that's understandable. But I just thought maybe this would just give a little bit of education to our commissioners and including our association and the director. Chris is good to sit down with on going through the budget and telling you where everything, why it's allotted to where and how much, and at least just make a recommendation. It may be nothing that needs to be made. And just because we make a recommendation, we have to understand that we're basically an advisory board. They don't have to entertain it. But, is that something the association would entertain as well? I know I don't know if y'all have a meeting before then, but.
Just let me, for those who don't know, if I can, I was talking with Ben today about budgets. We do the capital improvement budget in November. We'll have to put that together and submit it. And then in December, we have to do operational budget. And of course, I'm responsible for 911 budget and animal control budget as well. But this year, and I can't remember for likes me which one it was, but one of those was we had to speed up the process I forget, there was a reason behind it, but we didn't get as much time to do the budget like we would normally done. So in the future, I like your idea of a budget committee.
Yeah.
So that is something that probably if we want to keep that format for the future, August, September is when we need to be working on that for when that comes, because, November, December gets here pretty quick. And so, we need to have our ducks in a row so I can input all that into the budget request when it comes time. And then and it could change, with the new county manager coming in, all that could change in the future, I don't know. But normally what happens after we submit it is January, February timeframe, we get a day with the county manager and the finance department, and we go through line by line, what we've requested, basically when I defend, trying to get what we can get. And then that we might hear a few things after that. It depends, but normally I find out what everything's going to be when the board sees the proposal. So
I know last year we had an ad hoc budget committee, you was on it, and we submitted the budget from here to the Board of Supervisors for our recommendation, and I know we cut all of the fire departments. How did you go about creating that budget for this year that was submitted to the Board of Supervisors?
as far as for volunteers, I used what we had done.
Did you keep it the same, or did you raise it any?
I asked for it to be increased. You know how we determined in the previous year that we'd have a base amount, and then they would get so much of, if they ran a certain amount of calls, they got so much more money?
That was the departments that had the life-saving crews, not the departments that had just fire departments.
Yeah, fire was the same thing. There was a base amount for everybody.
A base amount, yes, but the calls wasn't based on the fire.
Yes,
calls.
you're thinking there's another per call amount. That's a whole separate thing. Their allotment money. When I say allotment money, I mean the money that they get in August, January, and June, and it pays their gasoline or diesel and fuel and heat, and electric. That's their allotment money. That money.
But that's not. Is that based on per call?
It's based on it is a base amount of money for every department, and then if they ran like between this amount of call volume, they got so much more. If they ran, and I can send you the spreadsheet on it. But if there's like I think EMS, if they ran his rescue squad, it was $27,000, and if they ran over 800 or 900 calls, they got an additional $27,000. So there is, but now they also get for rescue squads, every time they run a call, they get $15 per call. That's a whole different pot of money. Now that we also asked this year to raise to, I believe it was 50.
It was $50.
$50 a call.
That was the last commission meeting. We made a motion to raise it to
And
50.
that's what I requested in the budget, was all that.
Okay.
But I did request their base amounts, that everybody's base amount go up. Now, I've got to go back through. I started today looking at what they proposed, and I haven't got to go through the whole thing
Did
yet.
it go up enough to make up for what we cut them last year?
If they approve that, yes, if they approve it, but I can't tell you if they've approved it yet. I haven't got down through the whole budget yet. So, but again, there's some money in contingency that I think we could request, this body could request back through Mr. Ingram to take to the board that, we would like to do whatever, so. And with,
I just know all of the fire departments are struggling right now.
Yes.
With everything, trying to get volunteers, and we need to fund them the best we can.
I would agree.
100% in support of that, and I hope everybody here is.
Yeah, on that contingency funds, I mean, it's public knowledge. I think it's a little over 900,000 is in the contingency.
Like I
But-
said, it's not a whole lot of money.
Yeah, but I think, if with the reassessment, we don't know where, I mean, you guys are working on that, but, I guess that'll have to come out of that. So, yeah, I'm not sure what'll be left over, but, what's y'all's pleasure? Like I said, that was just we used to have a ad hoc committee that made a recommendation for the budget. Again, I know it's really early. It's our first night getting together. And I really think, Chris, it'd be beneficial for you to send out to all the commissioners the funding criteria, as far as how much each agency gets and how they got that. It's based off the call volume. And then also we have an ambulance, we have a truck rotation for our CIP money, and we have a ambulance formula point system in order to be eligible to get an ambulance. And all that goes into the budget process as well, because that's how he makes his recommendations in the budget for the CIP money for those fire trucks and ambulances. So I think that would be good information for these guys to be able to look at and review and ask questions on, because this body worked hard on it last go around, but I'm not going to say it's perfect. I mean, they obviously need some adjustments probably. So is there any wishes to form that committee, or do we just want to move on with this item?
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
would it be beneficial for us this year? And the next, you said we don't have a lot of time to do this.
Yeah, we're behind the 8 ball just
Yeah.
because of timing, right?
But I mean, if it's beneficial, I think we should do it.
Yeah.
If it's gonna prove, beneficial to all parties involved.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it's not in time, then maybe we should, maybe we could back up and get ready for the next budget.
Right. So is that you guys' wishes? Y'all, like I said, y'all want to form it and try, you would have to meet within the next week and a half.
That's the reason I was asking Mr. Schlemp how they went about creating a budget. I'm satisfied with it for this year, but
Okay.
I'm not speaking for everybody here.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to rush nothing, guys. Like I said, I know you guys are new to the setting here, and I want you to be able to get your feet wet, and so we make good decisions. So we can just, I'm fine. I just wanted to bring it up for discussion, and we can just kind of, we don't need a motion to table that, do we? And we can just,
You don't.
we can bring that back up at a later date. I definitely think we need to entertain making a committee for next year's budget. And like Chris said, that'll get here just like that. We're getting ready to vote on this year's, and that'll get here like really fast. So, all right. So we will move down to matters from the commissioners. So I'll just start on that side of the room. I guess, JD, we'll go first with you.
What was that?
Matters for the commissioners. Anything you want to bring up? This is just
Nothing at this time.
okay. Mr. Casper.
Nothing in particular to bring up, just as from my position, I'm looking forward to taking an active part in facilitating a positive relationship between the volunteer agencies, public safety, and the Board of Supervisors, because we serve, whether as career or volunteer, we truly are a brotherhood, and we serve the citizens of Pittsylvania County.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sellers.
I'm glad to be back on this committee and look forward to serving, and I'm glad to see all of the new members here and thank them for their time to come and serve us. Thanks.
I appreciate the opportunity to serve also, and look forward to working with all these folks, and hopefully we can help Pittsylvania County improve even more than we are today.
And I appreciate the chance to serve on this committee also. I think it's exactly what needs to be done. Everybody get together and try to come to a common goal on everything. and quit all this bickering.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I want to thank you for the honor of being on this commission, and I hope to work to better the Fire Rescue Association.
Okay. Like I said, first, welcome you guys back. The ones that's already, like Ben and Mr. Sellers and myself, like I said, welcome you guys back, and welcome you new guys on. We appreciate you serving with us and showing the interest in it. Thank you for coming. And the audience, thank you all for coming. Like I said, we see the same faces.
I'd like to congratulate you chairman and vice chairman and the new commission and the ones that have been here before. I've always been a fire service person at heart, and I hope I always will be. So, thank you.
Well, first off, I'd like to say this is a whole lot to take in for your first sit down right here. But I get the goals that we all have here, and I understand that completely. I do hope that I can benefit this commission, and I feel like the more I learn, have a few questions I'll ask in private, but the more I learn, I think the better I can be for you. So I'm really proud to be on this, and I look forward to helping you any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ingram.
You know, the prior commission did some great things, and there were some good members that served, and unfortunately, the way that this all shook out, you know, some people came off and some new people came on. But I look at this new commission as a new day and a great opportunity to do some fabulous things for our citizens in this county. And, you know, personally, I do want to thank each one of you guys for your commitment to serve and to tackle the financial accountability. To me, speaks volumes. And I appreciate all the input and work that you guys will put into that. And we'll move forward. And like I said, and putting all the things behind us that need to stay behind us and move forward for the betterment of the county. Thank you all so much.
Sir. Chief Powell. I'm going to pose a question, and Mr. Ingram or Chris, I hear what you're saying about giving these folks documents, but can we do a work session to where maybe Chris Limp and Chris Key and myself and the Vice President of the Fire and Rescue Association, and you all can sit down and we go through each one of those documents one afternoon and explain them, answer questions, and just air out what it actually is and how it's taking place so to get them up to speed?
Absolutely.
I think, you can read it all day, but it's your interpretation versus what is actually being done.
Yeah.
And the other side of it, I hope you all know how many people and how many hours are spent out here in the streets providing service. It's a bunch of you sitting in here that are doing it. I thank you, but please, when you see one of these people out here, ambulance, fire truck, directing traffic, let them know how much you care. They put a lot of time and their families suffer a lot because of what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So first off, thank you for bringing that up. Again, that's why I want you guys to consider for matters of the commissioners, if we have something like that come up, we need to put in a motion. Our hands are tied on it. So when you're looking at those bylaws, just keep that in mind and put your recommendations in it, Chris. But I want to say thank you to you guys that are willing to serve. Really appreciate that. This body, I've got no doubt we're going to do a good job, and we'll all get real close and personal over the next few months and years to better the fire and rescue service to our citizens. I want to thank all the volunteers, especially the ones that come in the audience, and I want to thank all the volunteers that run calls. Chief Fowler said it, you know, it's nothing like your heart of a volunteer. They get up from the dinner table, get out to bed, miss work, things like that, and you know how tough it is now with gas prices and stuff like that. Most of them putting gas in their vehicles, or all of them putting gas in their vehicles, going to and from these calls. You know, it's amazing the system we do have and as many volunteers as we do have. So we appreciate them, and I hope we can do them justice. I want to thank Chris for all he done getting stuff together for tonight, and look forward to meeting with you guys in the future. I just want to throw a few numbers out there real quick, and then we'll end this meeting. Okay, I'm sorry. Chris, I'm gonna come back to you for your comments. I apologize, I missed you.
No,
I got excited with that
That's
one.
fine. No, I was going to echo a little bit about what Chief Fowler said, but for
Okay.
those of you who are new, too, I don't mind to sit down with you one-on-one to go over stuff also to kind of explain how we've gotten to where we are with some certain things, and especially the funding and how we do the fund. But I'll be glad to, if some of you, I'll send a thing out to, I'll send some of those documents out this week probably to everybody, and then we can do some work sessions on them as well. To go over just what they are and what they really mean. And there is a lot to learn. I'd say it's a whole lot sometimes. You can't eat an elephant in one bite, and it's a big elephant some days. So, but thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Sorry about that. Yeah, Chris is right, guys. It's those documents and how we got to them took a lot of time, so we don't expect you to be experts on it now, but I think Chief Fowler's right. It would do all of us some good to sit down, whether it's one-on-one or whatever, and look at that so we can make some recommendations for the future. But some quick numbers, I got these from the Public Safety Director. For responses, EMS responses in 2021 was 8,779 responses. And we appreciate our public safety staff. They do an excellent job. The county paid trucks, the backup trucks, and the primary truck up at Hurt. But I just wanted to show a little light on the volunteers. The staff responded to 18% of those calls. So the other 82% our volunteers in this county responded to. And we're fortunate in Gretna because we have a hospital right there, but a lot of these agencies, especially with all the diversions that's been going on, they're making, 1, 2, 3 hour trips, turnarounds. That's a lot of time away from your family and stuff. So whether they're paying stipends, they're paying their people, whatever, if they're getting the calls covered and they're doing it by the book and they're adhering to their service agreement, then we shouldn't care how that's happening. As long as, like I said, as long as it's being all done, by the book, that we shouldn't have to get in and meddle with that, how those departments are taking care of their calls. So I want to thank them for that. And just so you know, this year, this is from July 1st, 2021 to March 13th, 2022, because the fiscal year don't end until June 30th. We've already ran 6,772 calls in this county that I'd say 80+% the volunteers have ran. So, these guys are running a lot of calls, and I don't even have the fire department statistics. I mean, they run a lot of calls too. Brush fire season's been crazy and everything else. So, but I'm going to be quiet. I like to talk, so if I get too winded, y'all just tell me to be quiet in these meetings. Is there anything else that we need to discuss before we close this meeting? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Sir. All right. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.